Hi, I'm Aaron Davis, founder of the Davis Project. I'm here with Tiffanne May. Tiffanne May, it's good to see you.
Nice to see you too.
I'm so glad to have you here. I've been trying to get you here for a long
I
time.
know.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Okay, so I am a mom, of course, of a beautiful 8.5-year-old, soon to be 9 years old. I spent 8.5 years in the military, Army to be exact, National Guard, because I didn't want to go active duty, of course. Once I got out, I decided to go back to school after an 8.5-year break to fulfill my degree in mass media with a concentration of television production. And so I'm currently freelancing in media, but I work full-time as a human resource specialist.
Wow. Well, like I said, I'm glad you're here, but why are you here?
Okay, so I'm here because when I saw the opportunity to be a part of something that I believed in for so long, which is fighting against depression, the stigmas and things of that nature. Having been in the military, having had family who, have suffered mental illness that went undiagnosed, and to this day, some of them have still gone undiagnosed. And just having friends who, or I ain't gonna say friends, but just having colleagues, counterparts, if you will, who have killed themselves because of the things that they have gone through. I think that this is definitely something that needs to be brought to light, to a greater light than what it has been. I don't think that it gets enough shine on, well, especially in the Black communities, and especially in the military, even though they offer services. I just don't think that it gets enough. I don't think it's really, I don't think we diagnose enough people to really help to begin to heal, our communities. The same thing, in the military. I don't think that it gets enough recognition, or the emphasis on it is not, as it should be, and so you still see these soldiers who go through things, without saying anything to anyone. You see mothers, who go through things, don't say anything to anyone, and, it's just something that really needs to be focused on more, We see a happy face and we just think, oh, that person they're fine. And it's like, no, they're not fine.
Yeah, we go through the military. I've done it myself. We go through the military with that false face. Mm-hmm. So we have to keep that military presence, right. Not let anybody in or let any of us out as far as emotion is concerned. But how have you experienced depression while you were in the service? I
did experience depression while I was in the service. I didn't realize it. I didn't realize until after the fact, but years later, that that's what I was going through. I think that, when I was going through it, it wasn't necessarily military related, but it was a combination of things. And when you have that compilation going on, it's like, you're trying to, especially since for me, when it happened, it was because of it. I think what really triggered it was the fact that I was pregnant. And going through what I was going through during my pregnancy, the absence of the father by his own choice, and trying to figure this thing out, trying to do what I needed to do, what was necessary to sustain for myself, and then the same, increasing income for my child, and just, everything that I had faced, it just began to wear on me, so the pregnancy was just that additional thing, but that was a major thing. And going through it by myself, while still combating what I was going through in the military, it was just like, I have to just jump into survival mode, I had a drill sergeant to tell me, or my group, that as we were going through training, that was the one thing that stuck with me while I was going through the pregnancies, still trying to fight, for promotions and fighting for this and trying to pass the PT test and going through all these different things. And still trying to figure out, deployments and things, all these things that you go through. I stuck with that saying that he gave us, which was, if they die, they die. You pick up your M16 and drive on, and that right there, was something that I always thought about. I always said, I can't, just allow whatever is going on in my life. It's nothing major. It's small. I can't allow that to affect, my day to day. But, when all you want to do is just go home and go to sleep, not even focusing on the pregnancy, not being happy, the fact that, you know, you're going to be responsible for a beautiful life, or being able to enjoy the pregnancy, you know, not being able to just enjoy your life, period. You know, I shut down. I stopped doing anything. You know, my friends didn't know. Nobody knew anything that was going on with me.
So when you realized you were going through depression, how did you seek help? Did you talk to?
Well, interesting, I didn't realize it while I was going through it. It wasn't until after I got out of the military, once I had lost my job and everything, and going through another cycle of it during those phases, and you know, my daughter's father coming back into the picture and wanting to take me to court for joint custody and all these different things that I was going through. It wasn't until my spiritual father had said, you know, what you're going through right now is the same thing that you were going through then. You know, you're going through, you know, you can't allow the enemy to allow you to go through another cycle of depression. And I'm like, depression? What do you mean? You know, like, not me, you know. And it wasn't until an in-depth conversation with him, that's when I realized I had gone through it and I'm going through it again. You know, it was just another cycle of it. And that this wasn't something that I was new to, but I've just learned to deal with it, you know. And he and I have a really close relationship. So of course, I'm just venting, but he saw something different, you know. And so it wasn't until conversations with him and even after the conversation with him, the initial one, I was still in denial about it, but he wasn't going to give up on it because it was a reality that I needed to face. And he saw that. You know, in order for me to overcome it, you know, he saw that I had to face it. I had to realize and accept that this is what it was. If it wasn't for him, I don't know if I would have ever really accepted that. I don't know if I ever would have come to the realization of that's what it was, you know. So it wasn't by my own acknowledgement, but it was by someone else pointing it out, and then me really sitting down and really thinking about it. And I was like, wow, I am really going through this right now. This is because I'm like, day to day, he just heard me say, oh, I'm tired, you know, I think I'm gonna go home, go to sleep. It's 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Why? You know, or yeah, I got up late this morning because I was just so tired. I really couldn't sleep last night. You know, no reason why every day waking up late.
So now, how has it changed for you? How has your way of thinking? I mean, we all go through our periods of depression. I know I do. The long nights, or, you know, without sleep, or without eating. How has it changed for you now?
So now it has changed for me because and this is just recently, I mean, the court case is done as of October. I was still kind of going through little phases and things. But it was when I realized, when I look back at 36, looking back at who I was before certain situations happened in my life, the ambitions and the goals that I had, the determination that nothing was going to stop me from achieving. And then when I realized I hadn't accomplished the goals that I had set out to accomplish, and it's affecting my daughter. And that's when I had to make a conscious decision in 2017 that something had to change. And it had to have been, I had a conversation with a friend that I have never met her through Facebook. She's on the West Coast. And, you know, there was something that I had put out there having nothing to do with, you know, depression or mental health or anything like that, but her words resonated with me so well that it was in everything that I do, I needed to change my perspective. I needed to change the energy that I put out. I needed to change just how I viewed things in life, period, because especially since life is too short now.
Right, and that change, you mentioned change, that change begins here.
Yeah.
You have to make up your mind that you want to change. A lot of people
Absolutely.
know they go through it, but they are afraid because of the stigma that's attached to it. You don't want to be labeled as, you know, off balance, crazy.
Right.
I know we have a lot of people, friends or relatives in our family they love you, but they'll walk around you.
Yes.
And I'm sure you've gone through that type of behavior with your family, am I correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I have a aunt who I believe that she, you know, is paranoid schizophrenic, you know. But I think that the onset of that came, or I ain't gonna say just the onset, but I think that it really became whatever she was going through. You know, my grandfather was abusive to them, you know, to my grandmother especially, and then her kids seeing this, you know, so of course that affects them mentally.
Yes.
You know, while the rest of my aunts and uncles were able to, function, to include my dad. They functioned, because they had their different outlets. For whatever reason, she just kind of let that seep into her life and become a permanent fixture there. And, her daughter, who is about my age, well, we actually are the same age, instead of that being, being the oldest child that is living, the rest of her kids really wouldn't, they're a little bit younger, even though now adults, but they're still a little bit younger. But, she could have done something about it, being though that she's the oldest child. She could have done something to seek help for her mother, to get whatever is bottled up inside, because she's paranoid, and I think that the onset of, what really triggered this phase for her was the fact that her son had got killed. And he was young. We were young at the time. We were, I was first round of college, so I was maybe like 19, maybe 20. He's like a year younger than me. So of course, you got this child that gets killed, by gunfire, and there was something that you could have possibly done about it. It's going to affect you. You're going to seep into some phases of depression, because this is your first boy. This is your second child, but it's your first boy, And so I don't think that where she is now, I don't think that she would have been here had she gotten some help then to deal and to cope with what was going on within her. For me, like I said, myself, I was fortunate to have my spiritual dad, but when you have family there and everybody just kind of walking around and it's like, oh, we're just brushing it off as, we know that she got issues, Everybody else was able to pick themselves up by the bootstrap, then why couldn't she? But I'm sorry, everybody else didn't have a son that got killed either.
You are one strong woman. You have come through a lot. I thought I've come through a lot. You've come through a lot.
But I think that we all have gone through things, and no one can, no situation could compare to another person's. I mean, it's just like, it's just how we all dealt different hands.
And depression affects everybody differently.
Yeah.
But the pain that they go through is somewhat the same, but it affects each person a little bit differently.
Right.
I mean, my time with depression is different than yours, but I can understand the pain and the suffering that you've gone through, especially with family and with the military, because I've gone through the military also.
Right.
But you being a strong, I'm so glad you're here.
Oh,
but you being a strong woman, you have survived. And hopefully with this interview, you'll be able to help me spread the word about this, because I'm going to bring you back on another day.
Absolutely. And that's why I'm here, because I saw that it wasn't just a photo shoot, but there was a message, behind it. There was a meaning, there was a purpose. And, I'm like, this is definitely something, because, everybody does a cutesy tootsie photo shoot, and that's cool. I'm not knocking anyone's art. But when you can take your gift and your passions and actually put some purpose behind it, that's going to do something so much greater than, a regular photo shoot would do, or, it's not a benefit concert, but it's like you're getting real people to express real things, and I had to jump on the opportunity,
Tiffanne, thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you.
I have to go do some shooting now.